Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. We've got a special guest for you here today. Uh, it was his first year with the Islamabad United this year. He ended up scoring more than 250 runs. He was one of the top five run scorers in the tournament. The New Zealand opener Colin Munro is here with us. Manas, how are you, man?
Yeah, man, good. Thanks. How are you?
As fine as can be, considering everything else that's going on in the world, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been a tough time. Obviously, lockdown, New Zealand, we're pretty lucky. We've got a good leader that's helped us out, and we're back to level three, nearly level two, hopefully soon, and then things get back to sort of a little bit of normality, and we can get out and do some training rather than just sitting around looking after kids all day.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing at least is that it's the off season for you guys, and it's good to have like a competent government somewhere in the world.
Yeah, it's obviously a lot of people when she said, "Oh, we're going straight to level four," bang, like it was like, "Whoa, okay, well, this is going to be a bit of a shock to the system." But no, I think everyone's done things really well and listened to all the instructions, and as you can see, we've done pretty well out of it. So yeah, kudos to her.
Yeah. All right. So I wanted to start off with the PSL this year, how it was for you. I mean, first of all, coming into this year, you had, I mean, there were doubts, especially after the way you went in the last PSL. But did you have like, was there like something to prove, or were there doubts in your mind? What was your mindset coming into this year?
Yeah, obviously, I wanted to try and prove something. It's the first sort of tournament I've been to last year where I played or pretty much all the games, and didn't perform anywhere near. And I know sometimes you can have those sorts of tournaments. You try a little bit too hard, you start thinking about your technique rather than just watching the ball, and then a couple of dismissals here and then. I remember playing Islamabad in my first game and got one on my legs, bang, and then got
Yeah.
caught on the boundary. And then next game I got a long hop and I had it straight to square leg, and I was like, okay, well that's 0 from 2, and I've been pretty unlucky there. So yeah, and then I just got into a bit of a mental stale really, where I was overthinking things a lot last year. And then this year when I came into Islamabad, and obviously having chats with you beforehand, you just wanted me to go out there and play the way I always play and try and set up the power play with myself and Ronks at the top, and to have that freedom to go out and play. Then even if you get out in the fifth or sixth over, if you set the team up with a good target, then it sets you up as well for the rest of the tournament. So yeah, it was obviously unfortunate when I got out first ball of my tournament. I was like, oh
Yeah.
no, not again. Here we go. And then to get some runs in the second game and stuff was very pleasing as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what it must have been like. Like after last year, it probably might have been the worst T20 tournament that you've had, like regardless of leagues or wherever it was. And then to start
Yeah.
off with the first ball of the entire tournament, just hand it right back to Nawaz. I mean, I remember like before our next game against Quetta, all you were thinking about was you wanted to like go after Nawaz in that game.
Yeah, well, I just told Ronks next game after that. I said, mate, you take first ball no matter what, whether it's a spinner turning into you or away from you. I don't care. You take the first ball. No, but yeah, it was again. Next time he came in, I wanted to try and attack him, but got out just beforehand. So yeah, it was obviously not the way I wanted to start the tournament, but nice to finish it the way we did.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. Like I've been thinking about it. I've been writing like reports and stuff like that the last month or so. It's a shame that considering how good a season that you, Ronks, and Shadi in particular had, that we wasted that season. It's sort of like, I mean, considering how well all the three of you were in the top four, like we shouldn't have finished where we did, I think.
Yeah, it was a tough one when you try and dissect the season. I think even on the way home with Ronks, I was just trying to think, where did we miss? And I think there was just fine margins. Sometimes, even though we batted really well, it was sometimes in the towards the
Yeah.
last sort of quarter of our innings where we lost a little bit of momentum, where we didn't have a set batter in that last sort of 3 or 4 overs to try and really make hay. And then again with the ball, we just didn't quite execute. And the more I think they overthought things and tried too hard, it just didn't fall into place. So I think sometimes you can look at when you beat that negative, and obviously I think our bowlers were thinking too much about what they needed to do instead of just stick to their strengths. And especially in this format of the game, margin for error is so small. With both bat and ball, I think with the guys that we had an outstanding bowling unit. It's just that when crunch time came, one or two balls went missing, and then that was it.
Yeah, it's sort of like I was trying to deconstruct that. Yeah, we didn't bowl, especially in the fast bowling, as we should have. But it's also like I think the only way we can diagnose it is that we were, rather than running the momentum ourselves, we were slaves to the momentum, and I felt like that might have been an issue. But anyway, like you had a really good season. The first, when did you feel like you were like back on top of your game? Was it the Multan game when you and Ronks went off, or was it the 80 odd against Lahore? I mean, I remember at the end of that game, you said that it's the first time that you've batted 20 overs and not scored 100. So, how did that feel like?
Yeah, it was a bit weird, I thought, but always great to contribute to a winning performance. I think that's the biggest thing whenever I play cricket, trying to contribute to a winning performance, whether it's a quick 20 or 30, or it's a big score like 70, 80 plus. But yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing was I think even after the second, coming into a new franchise, the second
Hmm.
game, and I think I might have got 40 or 50. I think that's when I was like, okay, well, I don't really have to prove anything because, I come in with a little bit of a reputation of being able to play at this level. And I know the boys in the team really back me because I know a lot of them from playing against them in Pakistan and the overseas boys from the other leagues around. So
Yeah.
I didn't think I had to prove myself like I did the year before because I knew a lot of the players.
Is that still a thing? Like when you came in last year, I think you might have been like ranked second or third in the world when you played for Karachi, and you still have that feeling of like wanting to prove yourself, or is that sort of like you've got a reputation to keep, that sort of thing?
Oh, I don't think it's that. I think every time you come into a new franchise, you want to show the boys around you
Hmm.
what you can do, not just rely on what you've done. I think I'm a big one that you're only as good as your last few performances because you can live on your morals for 3-4 years ago, and
Yeah.
having a couple of tough seasons. So I think you're only as good as your last sort of 3 or 4 months. So if you are having a tough time, you got to try and rectify it, not just rely on, oh, my stats are good enough for the last 3 or 4 years. That'll get me through for the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I think the way cricket's moving is that you've got to play every tournament, especially where I'm at in my career, where getting towards the back end. I'm not a youngster
Hmm.
anymore. You try and look at each tournament and just trying to have fun, enjoy it, and try and pass on as much knowledge as you can to the youngsters. And if you can, like, you leave a team, being a good bloke rather than just a good cricketer, I think that's what you want to try and achieve.
Yeah, but you're still young by like our foreign guy standards. We've had like you're like a decade younger than Ronks, pretty much.
Yeah, we had the old dogs, didn't we? We had Ronks, even Dale
Yeah.
Steyn. He's not much older than me, but obviously being a fast bowler, his body takes a bit of a toll. And then we had old Tractor Ingram, who he had on the show a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, so it's good to have those experienced players to bounce ideas off. Even myself now, where I've played over 200 games and 50 odd for New Zealand, you're still trying to learn and pick their brains. So yeah, you're trying to get better every time when you can.
Yeah, you mentioned your stats, and one thing that I was looking through it, as in I've been like intrigued by that even before when I've looked at your numbers. And the one thing that I struggle to understand is like when you think about guys who play the way that you, which is top of the order, you dash and stuff like that. Those guys generally don't tend to have like great first class records, shall we say? Like you might have the odd Sehwag who averages like close to 45, 50. But if you look at the even the best T20 openers in the world right now, not a lot of them succeed in the long form game. You've got a first class average in excess of 50. And what do you put that down to?
I think it's just not having expectations. I think when I first started playing 4-day cricket, I still remember texting Colin Munro, who played it's a little bit like me, quite expansive, and he had obviously played a few seasons for Auckland before me, and he had got an opportunity to go up and play for the Black Caps. And I remember getting back into the team and asking him I know all they're going to do is run up and bounce me because I'm compulsive on the pull shot. And he said, well, then just hit every ball for 4 or 6. Don't worry about trying to get out the way or play it down. Just hit the ball as hard as you can and go from there. And, I was lucky enough to get some runs that game and then just sort of kicked on. But I think for me, the biggest thing is not having expectation. And sometimes I think when you class as a white ball specialist, you go in and try and
Mm.
prove something in 4-day cricket, and you try and play like a 4-day batsman where you leave balls and I didn't need to play at that when I nicked out, rather than just having a full blooded maybe cover drive, You don't have anyone on the covers early on in your innings. You've got 3 slips, 2 gullies, plenty of gaps. So just rather than letting the ball go, you there to score runs, and that's what I was trying to do. And I was pretty lucky to having obviously have an average of over 50 and play like close to 50 games for Auckland. And now it's time to put my feet up and watch the boys do that for 4 days.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I don't know if you ever discussed that in the dressing room or not, but you've got a higher first class average than Kane Williamson, for instance.
Yeah, I think it's obviously it comes down to he plays a lot more Test cricket too. So if he just comes and plays my level of cricket at first class, he'll probably have an average of about 60 or 70.
No,
But
I looked it up. His domestic, like excluding the Test cricket, his numbers are worse than yours. I mean, just for future
yeah,
usage.
yeah, I'll have to use that one against him, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, I'll send you the detailed numbers later. But anyway,
sweet.
like talking about him, like that's one of the things that I find fascinating about the New Zealand team. I was talking to Ronks like a week or a few days back as well, and that's the thing that I find fascinating. You've got somebody like you've got somebody like Guptill, somebody like Jeterwal, Kane Williamson, Ronks, Baz. Everyone bats their own way. So is that the thing that Ronks mentioned? Baz basically going on about finding your own identity, but was that like something that came from Baz, or was that something that was within the first class culture itself as well?
I think a little bit of both, but I think it obviously came down to Bears. And the biggest thing is if you're scoring runs at first class cricket, you're batting your own way there. When you get up to that
Hmm.
next level, don't try and do anything different because you're going to
Hmm.
try be an international batter, and you're going to try and do something slightly different. Maybe leave the ball a bit more, or into T20 maybe be a little bit more aggressive, and then you're going to get yourself into trouble, and then you're going to try and rectify that by going back to what you knew. And then by that time, it's a little bit too late. So I remember my first tour to South Africa where I was really low in my stance, and the coaches tried to get me to stand tall, and I did that for the back end of that summer. And then when I got back to playing first class cricket the next year, I didn't know where I was, whether I was at A or B, or where to stand and where to go. So I think it was more Brendan. He just tried to pick the players that he thought was going to make a difference in the New Zealand environment. Where it was, I remember him going with Corey Anderson, Jimmy Neesham in the middle because they could hit the ball, and on
Hmm.
their day they destructive players. So if New Zealand were going to win games, it was about us being aggressive and trying to play close to our perfect game, and we could beat anyone on the day when we knew we could do that.
Yeah, even the way that they played, even I don't think, maybe England aside, no one plays that even right now, which is like what, 5 6 years later. Like that, it was almost like a sort of a criticism that New Zealand just went hard at everything. Like it was either they were going for 350 or getting bowled out for 250. Like there was no middle ground, right?
Yeah, I think Baz always used to say to us that like for like with and it's the reality. We don't have the numbers to compete with the top nations. So with us, it's about us going out and playing our brand of cricket. And if we do that well enough, we're gonna win more games than we lose. And that for us was just to go out there and be aggressive. And everyone's different. Not everyone goes down like Baz and Guppy. I remember when they opened before I came on board. They complemented each other well, and then they went and dominated the first 10 overs. Baz hardly ever
Yeah.
got through the first 10 overs, but he was on 60 or 70, and the team was on 80 or
Yeah.
90, and then that could allow Kane and Roscoe to do their thing in the middle, and then you had Anderson and Neesham or whoever to come down the end and put the cream on the top and literally get us to 330, and 9 times out of 10 that was more than enough, and you'd rather us try and go out there like you said and get 350 or get bowled
Mhm.
out for 180, but don't try and get you 220 because that wasn't going to win us any games.
Yeah, true. And that the other thing with the New Zealand thing, like I was also talking to Ronks about this as well. Like we have this sort of a reputation, especially if you're in Asia, that guys who are from like outside Asia aren't great players of spin. But if I look at your record, especially in CPL, where you have probably the most spin friendly wickets and you've dominated them for like 3 4 years. Uh, Perhaps you didn't have the same success in the UAE, but in Pakistan you've had that. In Bangladesh you've had good numbers. So what do you put that down to? Because your technique isn't exactly what you would teach for like playing spin and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I think if I actually play Test cricket in those countries, I'd probably get out second or third ball. But I think it's easier to try and. I think it's easy because you're trying to defend, right? And when you got batters
Yeah,
when you got fielders under the bat, plus a ring field and a couple of you don't have the slog option. You don't and where we grow up, the ball doesn't spin, so you can just go at the ball. Whereas in
yeah,
subcontinent conditions or in the Caribbean, the ball spins. You've got to use your bat a lot more. Try and get out in
mm,
front. Use your feet. Yeah, for me, the biggest thing was just trying to make sure that I'm still hitting the ball hard and executing. It took a long time. I remember before my first trip to Bangladesh, New Zealand Cricket sent myself, Devasic, Neesham, and Grant Elliott to Mumbai to go and learn how to play spin. And I know it was only 3 or 4 days, but that was huge for me. Batting literally 5, 6 hours a day against spinners
mm.
in spin friendly conditions, just having options on where you can hit the ball and still trying to be aggressive. And I think that's put me in good stead moving forward. And then again, just having that reverse sweep option does put a little bit of
Yeah.
scare up the bowlers, and you've always got one pocket open as well.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the thing. I remember talking to Fakhar Zaman about this, and like his career sort of took off after like he had a season with Baz, and he was saying basically like everything that I was told when it came to Pakistan cricket, where to stop, where to go, he basically just told me just go after everything, and that pretty much like almost like revolutionized his career. And I feel like those sort of guys are sort of lacking in international cricket. And talking about that, like yeah, I asked this of everyone, but I think it's pretty obvious what your answer would be. Who's the best captain that you've played under?
I think definitely Brendan and Dwayne Bravo as well. I think they're both pretty similar. I think when you look at Brendan, he's a good leader of men. He understands the game. He backs you 100%. That's one thing that him and Dwayne both do. Whatever you come in. I remember even my first second game for TKR 4 years ago. He backed me 100%, and Dwayne hadn't even seen me
Mm.
play before that, pretty much. But he backed me, and he still does today. Every time, even if I go through a few games, 2 or 3 games without scoring anything, he's like, "Yeah, no, Colin, I know you're going to bat 12, 13 overs because that's my role in the team, and then the guys bat around a little bit." So they complement each other really well. So having those two in the same franchise for 2 or 3 years was awesome to see them bounce ideas off. The way they lead each other or lead
Mm.
men, I think that's the biggest thing is they know how to get the best out of each player. And I think it's just they back you 100%, whether you're doing well or not. They just got a way of getting the best out of everyone around them.
True, true. And I almost feel like considering I've talked to Shadi about this a lot and other guys who've been at TKR, it's sort of like that's one of the franchises that anyone who's been through them has like good things to say about them. And I feel like that should be the aim of like most T20 franchises.
Yeah, I think it's very hard though because it's Trinidad where it's a country, and a lot
Mm.
of those boys are based in Trinidad and they play for Queens Park, so they know each other really well. They pretty much live
Okay.
in each other's pockets. You've
Okay.
got Naran, the two Bravos, Kevin Cooper. They all look after the young boys coming through, and then those guys come and play for Trinidad. So it's pretty much like playing for a family. That's what it is.
Mm.
Even when my wife Teray and the kids come over, they get looked after as they part of the team, part of the family, and everyone just feels like they're on a good trip for the month and a half that we're there. And I remember Dwayne when he welcomed us in for the first time. He said this will be the best team you ever play for, and
Mm.
it's a family. And to be honest, it is. It's when you get there, it feels like you're going to a second home because people enjoy you there. Obviously, it helps when you've done well there in the past. But yeah, I think it's obviously really good. And if other franchise want to go and learn from that, I know it's hard because it's not a
Yeah.
country; it's a franchise. But if teams can get close to that, I think they're going a long way in building something real special.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Maruk just asked the question, how was the birthday celebration with Islamabad United?
Still getting some icing out of my ears every now and again.
Yeah. I think they only know about the second one. A lot of people, obviously, people don't know about the first one, and I think we should
Oh
keep
yeah,
it that way. But
well, yeah.
what was the second one like?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, you're talking about the one at the dinner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the one at dinner was awesome. I thought, the whole team being there, and we went to an awesome place, looking over the water. It was a great time for the team and great time for me. It's obviously not great spending your birthday away from family, but it was great,
Yeah.
to have your mates around, and it was great until I got a cake shoved in my face. But no, that was okay, and I knew it was coming, so especially with Salty around. But
Yeah.
no, it was awesome. It was great. I got a few gifts from the boys as well, which made things pretty special. So.
Yeah. And like this was your first, like obviously you came with the Karachi Kings last year for like what 5-6 days, but this was your first time you were here for like a particularly long time. I know you guys didn't get to move as much as we wanted, but what was that experience like, that whole month or so in Pindi, Lahore, and Karachi?
Oh, it's great to get out and see other parts of Pakistan. I thought last year in Karachi we stayed there, so it was awesome to get around, Pindi and Lahore as well. So it was cool to see. And yeah, obviously staying in the hotels, it's obviously not
Hmm.
not the best thing, but
Not ideal. Yeah.
it's not ideal. But obviously, the more cricket's played in Pakistan, and hopefully security can ease a little bit, and then it allows the players to go out and do some more sort of touristy things.
Hmm. And so, talking about the PSL, like these are the questions that people generally tend to ask a lot. So I'm just going to forward them. Firstly, was there any bowler that you saw that like you didn't rate beforehand, or you didn't know about beforehand, you rate now after the PSL?
Um, Probably not, but I thought Shah Afridi had put on some good pace compared to even
Hmm.
facing him in the World Cup. I, I know he was carrying a bit of a niggle through the World Cup and was even injured before, I think,
Yeah.
PSL. But the way he bowled quick. He knew exactly where he was bowling. He doesn't look like a youngster when he's bowling. He's got a real mature head on his shoulders, and he knows exactly
Yeah.
what he's doing with the ball, whether it's at the start of the innings against batters that are coming after him, or whether it's at the end too. So I knew he was a really good bowler,
Yeah.
having played against him a couple of times. But I think he's even gone up another level.
Hmm. Yeah, I sort of agree with that. I feel like, I mean, obviously, I follow Pakistan cricket far more closely than most. Like this year, the PSL Shaheen this year was like, that's the first time, like he's almost like starting to reach what his potential was like when he came through like 2-3 years back.
Yeah.
And it's almost like over the past 6 months, he's gone from being the understudy in the Pakistan bowling unit to pretty much he's going to be the leader going forward from here on in, I would think.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think obviously with the retirement of Amir and Wahab in Test cricket, definitely, got another left armer there coming through, and I think he bowled with a lot more aggression this year. He
Hmm.
was, and he really looked like he wanted to bowl fast, and most guys with a broken thumb or a fractured thumb will just go off and go, oh, that's my you know my season done
Yeah.
or my tournament done. But he wanted to come back and play 2 games after, and it showed how hungry he was for success, and he bowled really well, bowled gas, and he looked like he, even against it wasn't just the overseas players we was getting aggressive towards, it was some of his best mates too, running down and giving them the eye and actually getting aggressive, and I think that probably brings the best out of him.
Yeah, true, true. And was there any batsman that you thought the same about? Obviously, like the Pakistani resources in batting are far smaller, shallower than in bowling. But was there anyone whom you sort of like going forward?
I think the Multan keeper, is it the left-handed batter? I'm not too sure
Yeah,
his name.
Zishan. Zishan.
Yeah, I think the way he played against us, well, it was twice obviously, but
Hmm.
in that game where he got runs, he looked
Yeah, the
he looked
first one.
really
He got
good.
a 50.
Yeah, yeah, hitting the ball over mid off, and really took his options. And I think that, yeah, he's obviously, I don't know how old he is, but he could be one for the future because he can play all around the ground.
Yeah, true, true. So I think
And
that
don't
pretty much
forget,
wraps it up.
batting wise, don't forget about Shaddy. He surprised
Yeah.
me, but we can't talk about him because he's obviously up. He's our captain, and he's obviously batting
Yeah.
and bowling. But he was definitely
I
one
mean,
that
that's
surprised
all
me
he's done.
massively.
Yeah, that's all he's done since the PSL ended, which is to, lord over how good his batting suddenly is. And like
Yeah.
everyone's saying, you're never gonna play this well ever again.
Well, I hope he does next year. That'll be awesome because man,
Yeah.
G was unbelievable this year. Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that like I was gonna finish off, but I think that's the thing that everyone who's following and everyone who uh, follows cricket and wants to play cricket needs to learn, which is that like Shadi is it's just this it's the incremental improvement. Like every 6 months you need to be a better player than you were before. And like you're an obvious example of that. Like coming through like the first time that I heard about you, like 5 6 years ago, like maybe longer than that, you were like seen as like this number 5 6 guy who batted like who was ideally built for the last 10 overs, right? That was sort
Yeah.
of the thing that you were for. So how did you change from that to being an elite T20 opener?
I think just watching Baz, and seeing how Baz went about his innings, and then when he called it time, I was like, well, the way New Zealand cricket have been playing their cricket over the last 3 or 4 years with him at the top and captaining, if we want to play that brand of cricket, I think I can do that at the top of the order. It did take a little while to get used to, and a few setbacks. I think as soon as I went to Hess and said, listen, this is what I want to do, because I wasn't playing one day cricket at that time. I was in and out, 12th man, running the drinks, and missing out even, when we were having home summers, missing out even playing first class cricket, carrying the drinks for the Black Caps. So I went to Hess and I said, listen, this is something that I've thought of a bit. I've spoken to Baz as well, and he thought I should come and have a chat with you. And he sort of put me on my merry way and said, I don't have the technique at the moment to do that, so go and work on it. So I went away and I worked on it. I didn't face the old ball anymore. I tried to face the new ball as much as I could, because I thought even if I'm facing the old ball, I can face the old, the new ball with trainings. I'll be able to face the old ball. It comes maybe a little bit slower. It might reverse later on. It might help anyway. So, and then, yeah, I was just lucky enough. I remember playing my first ODI as an opener before I'd even played a one-day game for Auckland opening, and I think I got 30 odd
Yeah.
against India and Mumbai, and
Mm.
obviously my one day cricket hasn't gone as well, but T20 I
Yeah.
just thought, well, let me just go and have a dip, and I think I've just played with freedom. I didn't have anything to lose because I knew I could always go back and bat number 5 or 6. Did that, and lucky enough, I am where I am today.
Yeah. Well done to you for that. So best of luck going forward.
Yeah,
Hopefully there will be a World T20 this year, and considering just the amount of people that I know in the Kiwi team, you guys will probably be my second team. So best of luck with that if that ever happens.
thank you
And
very much.
just uh, just say anything that you want to for the Islamabad United fans as a final thing.
Oh, just keep safe, guys. Obviously, it's tough times in Pakistan and around the world. I just urge you guys to listen to the medical advice and people around you. It's not going to last forever. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I can tell you that now for sure. But thanks for all the support. I still get messages online from you guys saying how well I played, and looking forward to being back next year, and we'll just see how things go. So, yeah, just keep safe and look after each other. That's the biggest thing. I know that it's a huge part in your culture to look after other people. So I know you guys will do that really well.
All right, all right, everyone. Bye from Hassan here and bye from Manat.
See you guys.